Hello. So I'm in the funny hellos again. All the stuff that I picked earlier on, I'm going to make into a tea. So I had picked some last week and I was drying it out because I had this idea to do this group last week. So there was a couple of things I had to do a wee bit in advance in order to do them while the weather is fine, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make I'm going to use the pot and just some boiling water. So I'm going to put in some of the mint. So as I said, I'm going to use the ones that I picked today. I'm going to make fresh tea out of them, or tea from the fresh leaves, maybe is a better way to put it. But in order to keep them, to lengthen your shelf life, you need to dry them. So there's a top of the nettles. These are the dandelions. This is the briars, and I've got the haws in there. And what else do I make? Oh yeah, the lemon balm. So there's the lemon balm. Okay. So there's the haws actually there. So there's two types of mint, because lemon balm is a type of mint. You've got, and there's loads of different types of mint. Now, and I'm going to pour boiling water on this, but so the thing about mint is, I suppose it is wild. We do have cultivated versions of it now, as in that we grow them. You know, you can go and buy them in a garden centre. We probably see them as a herb that we add to cooking and therefore not wild, but they would have been at one point. It's quite invasive. I do love these leaves, they're kind of hairy. So a suggestion would be is either to grow it in a pot, or to grow it in an area in your garden, and wherever the hole you dig out to put it in, that it's surrounded by polythene. So the idea is that the weeds, or sorry, not the weeds, the roots can't get beyond it. But if it doesn't bother you where it pops up, plant it wherever. We have randomers that are popping up in the lawn even. I mean, you know, you cut your grass and you just cut them back. If it doesn't bother you that they're there, absolutely fine. Or you can always pick them and use them. The lemon balm, as I said, we've oodles of it that it's self-seeded out there. So if anybody, even if actually you don't live that close by, I can always pot some up, mind it. And when travel is more free, we'll certainly organise dropping it off or something like that. So I'll just give you, so this has just been brewing for a couple of minutes. So it's quite a clear colour. It's a little bit like the cleavers, and I suppose the longer you leave it, oh, that smells good. The longer you leave it, the darker it'll get. So in relation then to just the dried, in terms of what you do when they're dried. So I just have this was had pickles in it. Always lads, pickled gherkins. So you literally just take your dried herb and you pop it in. Now they might not look like, some of these have dried out and they're gone a wee bit, you might go, oh, that doesn't look so good, but I know that I dry them quite well. So, and there's still a bit of smell off them, so you just crumble them together and put them in your jar, just knowing that you've cleaned them and dried them. Now there's a couple of ways you can dry them. Sometimes what I've done is I get a bunch and you hang it upside down, just not from a sunny window, so the goodness drapes down into the leaves and they'll dry out over time. Just somewhere that's a wee bit aerated. But some, you know, for some folk maybe that's an impossibility. I find the ends of curtain rails are a good spot to put them on. The other way you can do it, which I did with some of these, not all, is I put them on, you know, the cake trays you use, and I let them dry out a little bit that way. And then when I was baking my sourdough and the oven had cooled down a little bit, I put them on a pizza tray. And I put the pizza tray into the cooling oven, not when it was at super hot heat. So I had to let it cool down for a little bit. Left the door open, and that bit of heat will also help to dry them out a little bit more. Or you can put them on a piece of cardboard, say on a tray or something like that in your airing cupboard. The suggestion I have read is just don't put them on something like newsprint, because it will soak in the print. So maybe some old brown bag, or so as I say, the inside maybe of a cardboard box. So you just scrunch them up and put them into your jar. Now some of these dandelions that I've dried here, I'm going to actually use to make an oil that I mix with the comfrey sage. Comfrey sage, did that come out right? Comfrey, yeah. So I make a comfrey salve, and the comfrey grows outside of my garden. So that's a basic herbal tea mix there that's come from your own garden, which I think is pretty phenomenal. Now you can use lots of other herbs as well, actually. So I have some rosemary growing outside in our garden, and I usually, once they start coming, well, the rosemary is an evergreen, which is a lovely plant to have in your garden because it obviously, being evergreen, it remains green all year round. So once these things start to grow outside, I usually have like a jar, you know, a wee jar of them inside, and then you're pulling out of it as you need. I don't pick too much, I just have a few. The lemon balm, as I say, you just take a couple of leaves, put it into the bottom of a glass, pour on some water, and you've got a really nice refreshing drink. You could squeeze in a little bit of lemon or put a slice of lemon. It's lovely. Even with sparkling water, or you can put it with a lemonade, or you could even go mad and have it with a lovely gin. So this is what happened when I dried my dandelions in the airing cupboard. I think they just dried too quickly or something. See, they turned into these amazing fluffy heads, and I just kept them because they are so smooth. I doubt I'm going to start growing dandelions in the kitchen or anything around this bowl. I just thought they're so gorgeous. Look at them. They're like little, I don't know, fluffy teddy bears. They're going to start falling apart now and drive me demented, I'd say. And another oily. You know, I'll have something else in there. The other thing I was going to say is actually nettles. Nettles are really good for us, but they're actually really, really good feed for your plants. So you can make something called a compost tea out of just nettles, or you can mix it with, this is comfrey, kind of a pointy leaf. It has purpley, mine has purpley, light purpley flowers. You can see there's the flower bulb is just coming up there. And it does grow wild on the sides of the road. Mixing the two of these together, you just put them into water, you pick a whole bunch of it. It's a great way of actually, say, tinning back or removing nettles from your garden. Put them into water, make sure that they are submerged, the plant that is. Leave it with the lid on. Leave it for a couple of weeks, and it's called compost tea, and it's a great feed for plants. It stinks like holy hell, so if you're using it on indoor plants, have the windows open. We used to live in a house that had a conservatory, and I used to feed the tomato plants with it, and yeah, you wouldn't want to be in the house, but we had great tomatoes. And the thing about comfrey is actually is that it grows back every year. I'm not exactly, but I'm kind of a bit of a lazy gardener. I love things that just come back by themselves, and you can split the plant up, but it also, this feeds the soil. So wherever this grows, the plants beside it do really, really well, because this gives the soil nitrates, which a lot of plants take from the soil. This actually gives back, so it's an amazing plant. So the two together, nettle and comfrey, make a great compost tea. And I think beyond that, that's kind of all I had to say about teas and making teas out of what grows kind of outside. A little bit, some of it's wild, some of it's cultivated. As I say, you don't have to go too mad. Maybe there's only one thing that grows in your garden, but you know, it's always worth giving it a go, I think. And that grows close to us has better nutrients from the soil, and it's better for us. And I, you know, I'm not a complete and utter I wouldn't try every single thing that's out there, but I do really strongly believe that these things are out there for a very good reason, and it's not just to feed the birds and the bees. Yeah, and I think, hell girls, I think just give it a go.